You know the names Hitler, Stalin, and Jack the Ripper. But what if I told you they aren't the only people responsible for unimaginable suffering? Throughout history, a handful of evil people changed the course of civilization through genocide, mass murder, torture, terror, and unimaginable cruelty. Some became infamous around the world. Others remained surprisingly unknown, despite leaving behind millions of victims, from ruthless emperors and dictators to serial killers and cult leaders. This is the story of the bloodiest people to ever live, and how every one of them met their end. Stay until the end. You may be shocked by who caused the greatest devastation in human history. History's darkest chapters weren't written by one person alone. They were shaped by rulers, inquisitors, conquerors, and tyrants, whose names still inspire fear centuries later. You may recognize Elizabeth Bathory, the infamous Blood Countess, or Ivan the Terrible, whose reign was marked by terror and brutality. But others, like Timur, left behind entire cities reduced to ruins, while Lavrentiy Beria became one of the most feared architects of Soviet repression. And this is only the beginning. As the timeline continues, you'll encounter even more notorious evil people whose actions changed the course of history, and whose legacy of violence would eclipse almost everything you've seen so far. Not every chapter of history's greatest atrocities was written in Europe. Some were forged through conquest, colonization, and the ruthless pursuit of power. You'll recognize names like Leopold II, Christopher Columbus, and Andrew Jackson. But their legacies are far darker than many people realize. Entire populations were displaced, enslaved, or wiped out as empires expanded across continents. Alongside them stand lesser-known figures such as Rana Valona I, King Gezo, and Talat Pasha, whose actions left deep scars on millions of lives. And as this timeline continues, the scale of violence will only become even more shocking. As the world entered the modern era, cruelty became increasingly organized. Violence was no longer driven by conquest alone. It was planned, documented, and carried out on an industrial scale. The Armenian genocide, orchestrated by the three Pashas, marked one of the first modern genocides of the 20th century. Colonial powers also left behind a legacy of violence and oppression that continues to impact the region to this day. Colonial powers also left devastating legacies, from Lothar von Trotha in Namibia to brutal concentration camps in Cuba and South Africa. Then came Adolf Eichmann, the man who turned genocide into a bureaucratic machine. And as you'll soon discover, history's deadliest dictators were still waiting to appear. Now we reach the chapter that forever changed the 20th century. Almost everyone knows the name Adolf Hitler, but he did not act alone. Men like Heinrich Himmler, Reinhard Heydrich, Rudolf Höss, and Josef Mengele transformed mass murder into a carefully organized system, unlike anything the world had ever seen. At the same time, Shiro Ishii carried out horrific human experiments in Japan, while Hideki Tojo oversaw brutal campaigns across Asia. Yet, even after World War II ended, history's darkest story was far from over. Some of the deadliest evil people were still waiting to rise. The Second World War ended, but history's deadliest regimes did not. In the decades that followed, dictators like Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, and Pol Pot ruled through fear, starvation, forced labor, and mass executions. Together, their policies claimed tens of millions of lives, making this one of the bloodiest eras in human history. Others, including Kim Il-sung, Idi Amin, and Nicolae Ceausescu, built brutal systems where loyalty meant survival and dissent often meant death. And as you'll soon see, the next generation of evil people would bring terror to an entirely new battlefield, one where bombs, cults, and organized crime would spread fear across the modern world. Even as the Cold War faded, mass violence continued across the globe. Leaders like Saddam Hussein and Slobodan Milosevic used chemical attacks, ethnic cleansing, and political terror to hold on to power. In Rwanda and Bosnia, genocide once again shocked the world, proving that humanity had learned too little from the past. Then came a new kind of threat. Osama bin Laden turned terrorism into a global weapon, changing international security forever. But the final chapter is still ahead, where serial killers, drug lords, cult leaders, and modern dictators reveal that history's most evil people did not disappear with the 20th century. The battlefield had changed. Instead of armies, the next generation of evil people used fear itself as their greatest weapon. Leaders of Al-Qaeda and ISIS orchestrated attacks that claimed thousands of lives and reshaped global security. Their violence reached far beyond the battlefield, leaving a lasting impact on the modern world. But terror wasn't limited to extremist groups. Some of history's most horrifying killers acted alone. Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, John Wayne Gacy, and Harold Shipman proved that a single individual could spread unimaginable fear for years before finally being stopped. And the final names on this list may be the most disturbing of all. These are some of history's final and most notorious evil people. From cartel kings like Pablo Escobar and El Chapo, to serial killers such as Pedro Lopez and Luis Garavito, their crimes continue to shock the world. And with Kim Jong-un, this timeline ends with a regime that still exists today.